check it out. What's up everybody, Subaru fan here for weekly update number 47 on this Friday. So first things first, I have a little bit of a cold, so if I sound kind of rough and my voice sounds scratchy, that's why, but I'll try and get through this without coughing too much. Another thing is, it's extremely cold outside, and the BRZ doesn't like it. I mean, unfortunately this car sits outside most of the time, and I mean, it hasn't failed to start, but it sometimes takes a couple extra cranks whenever it's extra cold. But I think that's typical with any car. It's very cold. I think today the high was maybe like 15 degrees Fahrenheit, but with the wind chill, it's been in the negatives. Very cold, and but I mean, otherwise, I mean, the car's handling it fine. You know, it's not fazed by the cold at all. So, what's new with the BRZ? Well, I was browsing the FT86 Club forums a couple nights ago, and I clicked on the "What did you do to your BRZ today?" thread, and was looking through and saw that someone installed a front lip on their car, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty good. It's not the STI one, it's just one of the polyurethane knockoffs, but it looks really good. Fitment and everything, been getting lots of good reviews. And then I saw there's only $100, and I was like, well, what the heck? I might as well just go ahead and buy one. $100, I can't go wrong. So yeah, I bought the front lip, and there was like $125 with, you know, shipping and everything. And I was always opposed to getting a front lip on this car because I said I wanted to have enough ground clearance with the winter time driving in snow. I didn't want to, you know, reduce my ground clearance. But, you know, unless I'm filming like that snow fun video where I'm sliding around in deep snow, normally I don't see snow that deep, so I think, you know, it'd be fine to put the front lip on the car. I'd like to also do some springs for this car, give it a little bit of a lower ride height. The one I ordered was from J&A Performance, and unfortunately, because it's been so popular, it's back ordered. So mine's not going to be arriving until sometime in February, but that's fine because I don't plan on putting it on until the springtime anyway. So I'm not in any rush. You're not going to see it on the car anytime soon, but by springtime it'll be on there, and I'm pretty excited about how it's going to look. So yeah, that's it for all the updates this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me at the news desk for this week's news. Right, so for this week's news, the first thing is an interesting story I read on Jalopnik this past week that actually is from Ward's Auto. And it's a report saying that Scion is considering doing the FRS Convertible on their own. So, bunch of backstory here. There's been some drama between Subaru and Toyota. Scion really wants a convertible version of the FRS, and if you remember from a couple months ago in one of my weekly updates in the news, I talked about how Scion had a meeting with Toyota dealers and gave them an option to drop Scion because the sales of Scion have been so slow, but they said, wait, before you drop Scion, let's show you a couple cars. And they showed them one Scion model, and then they showed them an FRS convertible. I mean, they didn't promise that there would be an FRS convertible, but they kind of teased them with that. And they were hoping and expecting that, you know, they were going to make a convertible version of this car, and then Subaru's like, no, we're not building it. And so now Scion looks like a bunch of snake oil salesmen to all the dealerships because the dealerships are expecting a convertible version. Scion doesn't have one, Subaru won't build it, and, you know, there's all this drama. So Subaru, the reason why they say that they don't want to do it is because they say it would require so much re-engineering to make it as safe as the coupe that it'd be way too much money, it'd be a lot of time and effort, and Subaru doesn't want to do it. I find that to be a little bit contradictory because Subaru, back before the BRZ and FR-S were ever released, their engineers specifically said that they designed the chassis and the frame and all that so that it would be very easy to make a convertible version. It would just take a few slight little modifications and it would be ready for it to be a convertible. So unless they changed the design between when they made those comments and the production version, according to Subaru, it should have been easy to convert this car to a convertible. So now they're backpedaling. I think it has to do with the idea that, you know, Subaru is getting the crappy end of this deal. They're selling way more Scions than Subaru. That was in the contract. Subaru agreed to that they were going to produce less BRZs than FRSs. But now Subaru doesn't want to make a convertible because it would be engineering costs and, you know, their engineers engineering this convertible version, not Toyota, because I know there's been a bunch of confusion about who did what, but Subaru did most of the engineering for the chassis. Toyota just did the direct injection system and the styling for the exterior and interior. The engine, the transmission, the chassis, all that stuff is all Subaru. It's built in a Subaru plant. And so if Subaru is going to only get a few convertible sales out of it, it's not worth it to take all of their engineers and spend all this time making a convertible version essentially for Toyota, because Subaru is not going to get a whole lot out of it. So that makes sense. But it's crappy, because I would love a convertible version of the BRZ. And I'm worried now. Scion, the new thing is Scion is saying that they're going to try and look at building their own version of a convertible. They are saying that they would probably just try and find a new plant and build it themselves and see if the demand is there. They want the Toyota dealerships to kind of try and get an idea of how many convertibles they think they could sell, and if there's enough demand, they think, then they would probably go ahead and try and make their own version outside of Subaru, which is really an interesting idea, because that could really make Subaru mad. And in addition to that, Toyota has been the people that have been developing all these new higher performance versions of the FRS. The Toyota engineers were the ones that said they're doing a turbo version right now, they're doing a hybrid version, and a larger displacement version. They're all just prototypes. Haven't confirmed anything in particular, but they're saying that Toyota's doing all the R&D now, and Toyota's the one that's spearheading this because it's more profitable for them, and Subaru doesn't care. And you can tell that Subaru probably doesn't even really like the BRZ a whole lot, because in their new 2015 WRX press release they released a couple months ago, they bragged that the WRX has faster turn-in than the BRZ. I don't know why you would diss your own car, one of your own products, but that's what they're doing. So I'm worried that they're actually going to discontinue the BRZ and just keep making the FRS and the GT86, and that the Subaru version is just going to die off. It's not going to get a convertible, it's not going to get a higher performance version. They'll just leave it as is until demand just drops off so much that it just dies, and Toyota continues on. Because as you see, Toyota's very interested in, with the FT1, and there's been a new report this week that says they want to make the new Toyota Camry more emotional. And I think Toyota's kind of getting bitten by this speed bug again, and they want to have exciting cars because they realize that it would be in their best interest. So, interesting. There's all kinds of, drama and stuff. And I mean, some of these reports or quotes, other stuff is just conjecture. So I mean, who knows what's really going on. I really hope that Toyota and Subaru make up and, make plenty of awesome versions of this car for the next 10 years. But it's not looking so peachy around Scion and Subaru. So we'll see what ends up happening. Alright, so on to other car news. The first is that Audi is supposedly planning an S3 Plus that's going to have 375 horsepower from a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine, which is pretty impressive, because the normal S3 isn't a slouch already, and so for them to be bumping it up from 290 horsepower all the way up to, 375, that's a huge jump. And I mean, this is really exciting, because you see the CLA 45 with its insane amount of boost that's putting out 355 horsepower, I believe, and this S3 with 375, really going to be some amazing 4-cylinder engines here. I don't know if they're going to be reliable 10 years from now, but that'll be awesome. I mean, these are going to be sweet cars. And that is exactly why I was disappointed with the 2015 STI only having 305 horsepower from a 2.5-liter turbo engine. This is a 2-liter that they're planning on getting 375 horsepower. I mean, Mercedes already has the CLA 45, 2-liter turbo, and they're getting 355 horsepower or whatever. And so a 2.5-liter, which is a whole half-liter bigger, and a turbo, there's no reason why that motor can't safely do 350 horsepower easily. I mean, you could do 400 out of that STI motor no problem, I think, if Subaru really tried. But, yeah, so the Germans are bringing it, man. So the STI better hurry up and start getting competitive, or else it's going to be left in the dust. Talking about higher performance versions of German cars, the Porsche Cayman and Boxster have been spotted in GTS trim. So as you know, Porsche puts the GTS trim line on their more raw, hardcore versions of, the Cayenne and the Panamera. And so now they're saying they're going to do it for the Cayman and Boxster as well, which sounds good to me. They're normally lighter weight, they're, a little bit more powerful, and really fantastic driving cars. I love driving the Cayenne GTS. That's a great car. So looking forward to those. Another Porsche thing, though, is they said that this past week they're undecided about whether or not they want to do a new 911 GT2. So, the problem here with Porsche is they're saying that the Turbo S version of the 911 is so fast that making a rear-wheel drive GT2 would probably be slower. Even if they increased the horsepower, it would probably end up being a slower car. And it's quite a conundrum whenever they've kind of reached the limit for what they can do with a rear-wheel drive Porsche, I think. And so it'd be interesting. You know, most people said, oh, I'll just make it anyway, you know, do crazy horsepower and whatever. If it doesn't put power down, who cares? But Porsche doesn't think they can sell a GT2 if it's going to be slower than the Turbo S, which makes sense. So it'll be interesting to see what they decide to do with the GT2. Also, there's another report out this week that Infiniti's Eau Rouge concept that they had, you know, in Detroit, that is going to be their new performance line for Infiniti, and that, you know, it's going to start off with the Q50 here and possibly spread over into other cars. So I think they basically confirmed that the car we saw in Detroit is going to be produced, and that's pretty good news to me because it looked pretty good in person. I mean, I don't know if it's going to be as competitive as the ISF or the you know, M3s, cars like that, but it'd be interesting to see. I mean, more competition can't hurt. Speaking of Lexus F cars, Lexus's RCF has resurfaced with a carbon package. So, you know, the RCF is probably going to be a pretty heavy car. And so they want to have this carbon package, which has a carbon fiber hood, carbon fiber roof, and carbon fiber rear spoiler. That on the white version is actually supposedly exposed carbon fiber, which is going to be pretty sweet looking. And hopefully it'll drop the weight pretty good. So, no details yet on price or when that's coming out. It's going to be released at the same time as the regular RCF or what, but that's pretty cool. Next is that Cadillac was caught testing their El Mirage sedan. So, you know, I really want them to make a coupe. They said they probably won't make a coupe though because coupes don't sell too well in America, but they are planning on making a large, grand four-door car. And it was caught out testing and it looks huge, which is awesome. Typical classic Cadillac fashion. Really excited to see that car without the camouflage on. I still hope they make a two-door version, but I'm happy just to see them getting back to their roots of a huge classic four-door. And I really hope that they give it a good name, though, and don't just, you know, call it some jumble of alphabet soup letters, and they just actually go with something classic like the DeVille or the Fleetwood or something like that. That would be really cool. One car that I'm not happy to see is the 2015 Lincoln Navigator that was released, and I really like Lincoln. I really want them to do well. I love the brand, and the MKZ and the MKC that just came out are both really good looking cars. But the Navigator, they kind of just dropped the ball on. It looks like a nervous kid with braces, and not a big fan of the way that looks. And apparently it's actually still based on the old Navigator, which is based on the Expedition from, I don't know, like 10 years ago. So, I mean, this is a very dated chassis. Luckily, they've put a new EcoBoost V6 in it, so it'll be better on gas. But yeah, I think Lincoln just needs to do a completely redone version of the Navigator, start completely fresh with a new chassis and everything else, and make a proper Navigator. This is the perfect time, too, because Cadillac just announced the prices for the new Escalade, and it's like 73 grand. So if Lincoln can make a really nice Navigator that's, you know, maybe 55, 60, I think they'd steal a whole lot of sales away from the Escalade, because the Escalade is going up market, which is cool for Cadillac, but I feel like there's a little bit of a gap in the market there where, you know, you could have a $50,000 to $60,000 nicer SUV that's not just an Explorer or something, but it's, you know, a little bit nicer, but not quite 73 grand. That's quite a leap. So I think Lincoln has a good opportunity there, but I don't think this car is going to help them any. It just does not look good to me. And the last cool little bit of news is that Ken Block has been busy transforming a Ford F-150 Raptor into RaptorTrax, which is apparently, he just put some big snowmobile tracks on it, and it's awesome. I think someone did this to an STI several years ago, and it was amazing. There was videos of it climbing up and down mountains and stuff. Unfortunately, according to this article from Autoblog, we're not going to be able to see this thing in action until next winter, which is really a disappointment, but really excited. I mean, it's an awesome idea. So, I mean, typical Ken Block fashion, that's going to be sick. Can't wait for that video. So yeah, that's it for all the news this week, guys. So I'll send it back to me in the car. So yeah, I'll leave you guys with a nice little acceleration here, like I always do. Wheel spin, always fun. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next week. Take care.